thank you very much for coming along. Some of you may know something about Arbikie Highland Estate, others may not. So what we're going to do today is a bit of a light-hearted review of what we do at Arbikie and what I would consider our sort of unique selling points. We're going to do a bit of a, probably slightly controversial, but we're going to be doing a little bit of a vodka tasting, then we're going to be moving on to gin. There's a reason for that, and I'll tell you the story behind that. And then we've got a nice Southside cocktail to finish off. So there'll be plenty of drinking. There might be about 5 minutes of me talking, and then we'll move swiftly on to the main event. So Arbikie Highland Estate, we were started in October 2014 when we launched Scotland's first potato vodka. The unique selling points for Arbikie Highland Estate, we're a 2,000 acre farm based in between Arbroath and Montrose at Lunan Bay. Farming the land since around the 1860s. And the whole idea sort of transpired for the company. The Stirling family who own Arbikie had their own various corporate careers. They were doing various bits and bobs for themselves. Some had worked in the drinks industry, others had worked in other parts of the food sector, and they just realised this gap for having this farm to bottle process. So what do I mean about farm to bottle? This is quite a nice picture. This is a view from the distillery. This is Lunan Bay, for anybody who knows the East Coast. Absolutely stunning part of the world. But yeah, it's family estate, and I think the whole concept of single estate spirits is really important. We launched the vodka in 2014, we then followed up with Kirsty's gin in the summer of last year. We then launched a chili vodka at the end of last year, and we also are distilling whiskey at the moment, about 350 barrels laid down. And we found out quite recently that actually makes us the world's first single estate farm distillery to do gin, vodka and scotch all in the one location, growing all your ingredients on the one site. So very much everything that we do is about farm to bottle. It's about that provenance, about that ethos, about the traceability of exactly what you're drinking, very much how you would eat. Where did my steak come from? Where did my lamb come from? It's the same with alcohol. We want to know exactly where those where that's coming from. So this is the farm team. An interesting bunch of guys. I'm glad none of them are here. But no, they're really good guys, and I always like to use this picture really clearly, because if it wasn't for them, it doesn't matter how talented our distillers were, if we didn't have good raw ingredients going into both the vodka and the gin and the whiskey, then we wouldn't have a product. It doesn't matter how good a distiller is, if you're giving them subpar fundamental raw ingredients, you're not going to create a good final product. So unsung heroes really of the distillery. It's usually all about the distillers and the family, so I quite like to do something a little bit different and get the farm team up. Kenny, who's on the far left there, is quite an interesting chap. His dad and granddad also worked on the farm, so he's third generation to work on the Arbikie farm. So again, reinforcing that family. It's not just about the brothers, it's also about the people that live here. Again, this is us planting our potatoes. It's a very clean tractor actually. You can see them here. Seagulls are getting in about it, but again, it's that provenance, and I'll go into a little bit more detail about the vodka and why we're doing it. But all of our ingredients that are used to make our alcohol is all grown on the farm. There's some up close potatoes. This is Lunan Bay, which is down right on the beach of the distillery. It's important again for the gin, which I will come back to, but this is where we get our sugar kelp from, which is one of the key botanicals in the gin. So three brothers who own the farm, having a casual barbecue, probably drinking. This is the distillery here. These are all our casks waiting before they get put into the distillery. Again, it's just kind of an interesting slideshow. And in here, there's a photo really of our two main stills and our stripping columns, and I'm going to come to that in a minute. But I think now there's nothing me sort of droning on generally about the farm. I thought we would maybe have some vodka. I don't think you hear that at Gin Festival, but there is a reason. So I think there are some vodka samples coming. Are there? This is why the microphone's here. Hello. interested with potato vodka. We launched that in 2014. We're using 3 types of potatoes, Maris, Piper, King Edward, and kosher potatoes. For me, the vodka, the reason why I started with the vodka is because it's the base spirit for all of our products. And, you know, I know there are distillers in the room, so I'm going to be careful what I'm saying, but gin is in effect flavoured vodka in a sort of a really in a very simplistic way. So when people say, oh, I don't like vodka, but I like gin, it's like, well, you know, you just need to find the right vodka for you. So the reason why we've got a little taster here, just so you can taste the spirits. When we move on to the gin, a lot of people always remark about how smooth the gin is. And one of the main reasons for that is the potato vodka and using that as the base spirit for the gin. So you get a taste of that, you'll get that through onto your palate. There's a sort of a very sort of creamy, almost buttery afternotes to it. It's 43%, so it packs a punch. You know, especially if you just knock it back in one. It's good going over the chili vodka here, otherwise that would just be, everyone would be crying. It's nice, it is nice, you should go and try it later. But the vodka itself, very, very smooth, using 3 types of potatoes. People always say to me, oh, potatoes, not very premium. Yeah, all vodka's made out of potatoes. Well, actually, it's not. Most vodka's made out of grains, so Belgian, Grey Goose, these are the large, bigger brands that you would know, Smirnoff, Absolute. They're all grain vodkas, very tasteless. Grain as an ingredient doesn't have much flavour, doesn't have much anything to it. Potatoes actually are a very diverse food group. If you think about it, potatoes, if you're going to make a baked potato, you would use a certain type of potato. If you were then going to make home fries, you wouldn't use the same type of potato. Potatoes actually, as an ingredient, are very, very complicated, very different. And the 3 types of potatoes that we use marry that, and all that complexity and the peppery afternotes that we probably have in the vodka all come from those potatoes. So we'll move on to gin, because that's obviously why we're here. But the vodka is important because the vodka is actually our base spirit for the gin. And this is a bit of a controversial part of my talk, where I probably annoy like 99.9% of other Scottish gin distillers. And when I say that we are Scotland's first gin distillery to actually distill its own gin from scratch. So what do I mean by that? Well, one of the many ways that you can make gin, and the most common way of making gin, is buying in something called grain neutral spirit. It's a pre-made alcohol, and it's a really ethanol-y spirit, like a really bad blend vodka, is a way of kind of contextualizing it. You buy that in maybe from London, maybe from Eastern Europe, maybe from the US. You then add in your own botanicals, and there you go, you've got gin. Nothing wrong with that. Some of my favourite gins are those GNS style gins, but for us at Arbikie, being farmers, it's all about provenance, it's all about traceability of ingredients. One of the issues with GNS is you don't control who makes that. You don't have any control over the ingredients, when it comes, how it comes. So for us, it doesn't really fit with our ethos of knowing everything and where you're drinking it. So the reason why I got you to taste the vodka first was that's actually our base spirit, which we then use with our 3 main botanicals. And these things here, I've left it on this picture because this is fundamentally key. This is a shipping column. We've got 260 feet shipping columns, so actually it should have been 120 feet. We had to split it out because our bar wasn't big enough. But you can see the size and scale of them here. And what's important really about these, if you go to a gin distillery and they don't have these, then they're not doing it from scratch. It's the simplest way of knowing whether a distillery is actually doing it all with raw ingredients or not. And again, I'm not criticising these guys because the way that we're doing it, we're very lucky to have all the fields, you know, to actually do. If you were based in the north of Glasgow, you said, do you mind if I knock down Hindland to make some potato fields? They'd probably say no. So it's not a criticism of that, but for us it is really about doing everything from the ground up and knowing exactly where you're wanting to be. So with the gin, we use potato vodka, which gives it a very smooth after. I drink it straight with just a little bit of water. Very, very nice. But the botanicals in the gin, oh, there's Kirsty and Christian. I should probably speak about Kirsty and Christian. Kirsty is our master distiller, and Christian is also a distiller, I suppose. I don't know the difference. Master distiller and distiller. They're both equal. They're both very good at what they do, and their characters, to say the least. As you can see, these are our juniper plants. So again, we are growing our own juniper on the farm. The reason for doing that, there's been a big disease in wild juniper in Scotland, the white tip at 80–90% of the Scottish juniper, and we now work with an organisation called Slow Food Scotland and the Arbikie Taste. The Arbikie Taste is an organisation playing on Noah's Ark of taking all old foods and old styles of eating and making if they're endangered. So we're now growing about 3,000 juniper plants across the farm. Biggest problem we've got is that juniper likes really bad soil and Angus has really good soil. So we've been trying to find the worst parts of the farm to grow it. So we don't even have, although we've got like 3,000 plants, there's about 10 here, 20 over here, and it's just chaos. But these are the awards, and I'll go through in a minute. But for those who still have any of the gin left, we have 3 main botanicals in the gin. Again, all locally sourced. So we have the kelp from Lunan Bay, so the sea image that we did earlier on. Sea image anywhere, wherever the sea image is, so you can see it at the back there. We take the kelp from there. We have Carline thistle, which is an aromatic botanical. It grows on the sand dunes of the estate. And then we also have blaeberries, which are small Scottish blueberries. Again, wild on the estate, now we grow them commercially. So again, it's that farm to bottle ethos where I can go literally, that's the juniper, that's the blaeberries, that's the kelp, that's the Carline thistle, and that was the field where the vodka came from that made the gin. So it is a unique story in what we're doing, and we might not always get it right. We are trying to do things that are a little bit controversial. People don't quite know how it's all going to work out, but we like to try things once, and we'll like to grow it. I quite like to do a rum. You can make rum in a number of ways, but I'd like to grow our own sugar cane, so we were trying to work out how we could do that. We might have to just build a big conservatory and just ram it all in and don't quite know yet. But that's what we want to do, and that's the ethos of Arbikie, is farm to bottle. And the gin's done very well on that, and we've won numerous awards. I'm trying to think, my favourite one's probably San Francisco, which happened just recently. San Francisco is like the Oscars of the drinks world in terms of awards. You don't get a gold medal at San. A lot of them you can just basically turn up and you get a gold medal. It's a bit like in primary school when you used to get a medal for taking part in sports day. It's kind of a bit like that with some of the competitions. San Francisco though is very tough. So to get that with a product less than a year old is very, very good. And I think we're going to now do some cocktail drinking. We've got a Southside cocktail, which is a twist on a gin mojito. So we have, we compounded the gin earlier on today, so we had fresh blueberries squeezed into the gin bottle that soaked through the gin. We then added some lime juice to that with some fresh basil. So it's a nice refreshing summer cocktail if we had a summer. So we'll just pretend that it's really hot outside and this is a nice sort of relaxing drink for you to have. But again, I think it shows off the flavours of the drink, in particular because you're not using that many ingredients. You're using blueberries, you're using basil, and you're using lime juice. And a lot of gin cocktails that you may have like 5 or 6 ingredients because they're potentially trying to hide the really perfumey GMS gin. I think that's really it. That's a nice one to